Captain Ryland Voss never believed in destiny. He believed in duty, in rules, and in the sharp edge of logic that guided soldiers through chaos. But that belief began to break the moment he saw her. The vast hall of the Intergalactic Council glowed with soft blue light. Delegates from hundreds of species spoke in hushed tones, their voices mixing with the hum of technology and distant stars outside the glass walls. Ryland stood near the back, hands clasped behind his back, a small human among giants of power. And then she entered, Sarai of the Varethi Empire. The crowd went silent as if even sound dared not touch her presence. Her skin shimmered like liquid silver, and her eyes held a strange glow. Not cold, but deep like the surface of a calm sea hiding storms underneath. Her movements were graceful, almost like she was floating instead of walking. The Varethi were a mysterious race, ancient, proud, and untouched. They were known for their emotional control, their strict laws about contact and feeling. To touch a Varethi without permission was a crime, one that could start a war. Ryland didn't know that yet. He just knew he couldn't look away. Their eyes met only for a second, but that second felt longer than any mission, any battle, any silence he had ever faced. Sarai didn't smile. She didn't need to. Her gaze alone said everything, calm, curious, and distant. Like a star that burns bright but never lets you near. For days after that, he saw her from afar, always surrounded by guards, always silent in council meetings. She never raised her voice, yet when she spoke, everyone listened. Ryland found himself waiting for her words, gentle, deliberate, and strangely musical. He couldn't explain it, but she made the endless galaxy feel smaller. One evening, when the council was dismissed early, Ryland walked alone through the corridor of glass. The stars outside blinked like eyes watching him. That was when he heard it, a soft sound almost like a sigh. He turned and saw her standing near the viewing deck, alone. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The air between them felt heavy, filled with unspoken things. Ryland cleared his throat. "I didn't expect to see anyone else here." Sarai looked at him, her expression unreadable. "Humans often wander where they shouldn't," she said softly. He smiled a little. "And Varethi often watch them do it." That made her blink, almost a sign of surprise. Then very faintly she smiled back. It wasn't wide or bright, but it was real. They talked. Not about politics or the council's decisions, but about simple things. Stars, music, the feeling of rain on skin. She listened closely when he described Earth's oceans and the sound of laughter. Her people had no laughter. They considered emotion a weakness, something that clouded judgment. Yet when Ryland spoke, her eyes softened. She asked, "Why do humans seek connection in everything?" He shrugged. "Because the universe is too big to face alone." Sarai turned back to the stars, and for the first time he saw something in her expression. Longing. As if she too had once dreamed of something more than rules and silence. Before he could say another word, one of her guards appeared, calling her name sharply. Her silver glow dimmed as she turned away. "Good night, Captain," she said, voice quiet, formal again. He nodded, watching as she walked down the corridor, her reflection fading in the glass like a ghost of light. That night, Ryland couldn't sleep. Her words, her voice, the way she looked at the stars, everything stayed with him. He didn't know what this strange pull meant, or why his heart beat faster every time he thought of her. He only knew one thing. That moment in the silent corridor had changed something inside him, and somewhere deep within his heart. A voice whispered softly, "This is just the beginning." Days turned into weeks, and Ryland Voss found it harder and harder to keep his thoughts away from her. Every council session, every political meeting, his eyes searched for Sarai. She never looked back for long, but sometimes, just for a heartbeat, he caught her glance. It was enough. They spoke again, always by accident, or at least that's what it seemed like. Once it was in a corridor between sessions, another time near the shuttle bay. Each time their words were careful, polite, but beneath them was something growing, something neither of them dared to name. Ryland learned more about the Varethi from her small stories. They lived in balance, believing touch carried energy, that physical contact could merge souls and disturb harmony. To them, it wasn't just taboo. It was sacred, dangerous, but Ryland, a soldier who had seen too much death and loneliness, couldn't understand a life without warmth. Then came the day that changed everything. The council was under attack. A rogue faction had sent drones into the chamber, exploding one after another. Chaos spread across the hall. Alarms screamed, flames licked the walls, and terrified voices echoed. Rylan ran toward the council's platform, shouting orders. His body moving out of instinct. Through the smoke, he saw Sarai. She was kneeling beside a fallen guard, trying to activate a defense field, when a piece of burning metal shot across the floor and sliced her arm open. She gasped, her silver blood glowing faintly in the air. Before she could react, Rylan was there. He dropped to his knees beside her and grabbed her arm to stop the bleeding. Her body stiffened instantly. "Don't," she whispered in shock, but it was too late. His hands were already pressing over the wound, steady and firm. Their skin met, human and Varithi, two energies that had never touched before. A flash of light burst between them. Not fire, not pain, but something else, warm and powerful like a heartbeat made of stars. Rylan felt it rush through him, an emotion so strong it almost stole his breath. Sarai's eyes widened, her voice breaking. "Let go," she gasped, trembling. "You don't understand what you're doing." But he didn't move. He looked at her, his face calm but gentle. "You're hurt," he said quietly. "Let me help." For a few seconds, everything was silent. The sounds of battle faded behind them. Rylan felt her pulse, rapid and uncertain beneath his touch, and Sarai, and for the first time, didn't pull away. Her body glowed faintly where their skin touched, the silver light shifting into soft gold. Her wound began to close, the energy flowing between them as if their bodies recognized each other in some ancient, forgotten way. When he finally let go, she stared at her healed arm, disbelief and fear filling her expression. "That shouldn't be possible," she whispered. "Human energy cannot merge with ours. It's forbidden." "It's impossible," Rylan smiled faintly. "Guess we broke another rule." She stood slowly, trembling. Her eyes, and bright, wet, and alive, met his. "You don't understand, Captain," she said, her voice shaking. "What you did. It means something. To touch a Varithi without bond approval is not only against our laws, it's binding. Our energies now. They remember each other." He frowned, confused but moved. "Is that bad?" She hesitated. "It's dangerous." The council guards arrived then, pulling her away, shouting questions. The chaos around them swallowed the moment. But as Sarai was led from the hall, she looked back once, eyes full of emotion she couldn't hide. That night, Rylan couldn't stop feeling the warmth that lingered on his hands. It wasn't just a touch. It was something deeper, something that had crossed the line between two worlds. And far away in her private chamber, Sarai stood before her reflection, touching the place where his hand had been. The gold shimmer still glowed faintly beneath her skin. Her heart, a heart trained to stay still, beat faster than it ever had before. She whispered to the empty room, "What have you done to me, human?" And somewhere in the cold silence of space, the universe seemed to whisper back, "This is how it begins." The attack on the council left deep scars, not only on the building, but inside their hearts. For days, the halls of the Intergalactic Council were filled with silence. The delegates moved carefully, eyes wary, as if afraid another explosion might shatter the fragile peace. Captain Rylan Voss was ordered to rest, but his mind wouldn't stop replaying that moment. The touch, the light and the look in Sarai's eyes before they took her away. Every time he closed his eyes, he could still feel the warmth of her skin, the strange golden glow, and the connection that had burned through him like fire. He had touched her only to save her life, but it had changed something neither of them understood. When he finally saw her again, she was different. The glow on her skin was gone, but her expression had turned distant, cold, almost afraid. She no longer looked at him the way she used to. During meetings, she kept her eyes fixed on her notes or the stars outside. When Rylan spoke, she didn't answer. Still, he could feel it, a tension, invisible but strong, pulling between them like gravity. One afternoon, after a long council session, he found her walking alone down the corridor. The others had left, leaving only the sound of her footsteps echoing softly against the glass walls. Rylan followed quietly until he was close enough to speak. "Sarai," he said gently. She stopped but didn't turn around. "You shouldn't be near me," she said, her voice soft but firm. "Because of what happened?" he asked. She turned then, eyes glowing faintly with sadness. because it wasn't supposed to happen at all. You touched me, Rylan. You broke a law older than your world. I saved you, he said quietly. Yes, she whispered, and in saving me, you bound us. He frowned, not understanding. She stepped closer, just enough for him to see the faint shimmer still under her skin, golden light hidden beneath the silver. Our energies connected, she said. The Varithi call it echo bonding. It only happens when two souls share pure emotion through touch. It's not something that can be undone. Rylan's heart beat faster. So what does it mean for you? For me? She said bitterly. It means exile. It means shame. My people will say I've been corrupted by human emotion. He took a step closer. And what does it mean for you, and not your people, not the council, but you? Her lips trembled. It means I feel things I shouldn't. When you look at me, my pulse changes. When you speak, I hear it in my chest. It's wrong, Rylan. We are not made for this. He smiled sadly. Maybe that's why it matters. She looked away quickly, afraid he might see the tear forming in her eye. You don't understand. Humans can love freely. You can touch, you can hold, you can feel without consequence. But for me, every heartbeat is now tied to yours. If I lose control, if I feel too deeply, my body could destroy itself. Rylan's breath caught. Then I'll stay away, he said, though every word hurt. She shook her head slowly. You can't. The bond calls to both of us. The more we fight it, the stronger it becomes. They stood there for a long moment, two souls caught in silence, connected by something neither of them had chosen yet both secretly wanted. Finally, she whispered, but promise me one thing, Rylan. He nodded. Anything. If you ever feel this connection pull too strongly, don't touch me again. Her voice cracked at the end, as if saying the words broke her heart. Then she turned and walked away, leaving him standing in the corridor, staring at the fading reflection of her light. Rylan clenched his fists. He wanted to run after her, to tell her that what they shared wasn't wrong. It was beautiful. But deep inside, he knew the truth. She was right. The universe had drawn a line between them, one that even love might not be able to cross. Still, as he looked out at the stars that night, one thought refused to leave his mind. If the universe didn't want them to meet, why did it make their hearts beat the same way? Days turned into weeks, but the silence between Rylan and Sarai never truly faded. They tried to ignore the bond, tried to live as if nothing had changed, but something inside both of them refused to stay quiet. Every time their eyes met across the council hall, every time their voices brushed in conversation, the connection stirred again. It wasn't just attraction. It was something deeper, like a song they both remembered but had never heard before. Sarai had begun to change. Her once cold, perfect composure was cracking. She spoke with more emotion now, her tone softer when addressing humans. Her own people noticed, and whispers spread through the Varithi delegation. Some called it weakness, others called it infection. Rylan saw how the pressure crushed her. During one meeting, when she stumbled on her words, her advisor glared at her as if she had committed a crime. Afterward, she escaped to the quiet gardens outside the station where no one went. Rylan found her there hours later, standing by the glass walls, staring at the endless stars. You shouldn't be here, she said softly without turning. I couldn't just watch them treat you like that, he said. Her reflection showed a sad smile. You shouldn't care so much, Rylan. Caring only makes the pain worse. He stepped closer, stopping a few feet behind her. Then why do you? She turned finally, her eyes wet but shining. Because I can't stop. The air between them grew heavy, full of everything they hadn't said. The golden shimmer under her skin pulsed faintly, matching the rhythm of his heartbeat. Rylan reached out but stopped midway, remembering her warning. Her lips trembled. Don't, she whispered. If you touch me again, the bond will grow stronger. It might kill us both. He lowered his hand slowly, pain flickering in his eyes. I just wanted to make sure you're not alone. Sarai took a shaky breath. That's the problem, Rylan. You make me feel like I'm not. You make me forget who I'm supposed to be. He looked at her for a long time, then said softly, maybe you're supposed to be more than what they told you. Her eyes widened, then softened, and for a brief, stolen moment she smiled. But peace never lasts long in a universe ruled by fear. 2 days later, the council leaders found out about their connection. A Varithi medical scan had detected energy contamination in Sarai's body, human resonance. To them, it was proof that she had broken the sacred law of isolation. They summoned her before the council. Rylan wasn't allowed in, but he stood outside the chamber, his hands clenched, listening through the door as voices argued and accused. Sarai's voice was calm but full of pain. It was not his fault. He only helped me when I was hurt. Help? Another voice shouted. You allowed him to corrupt you with his emotions. You risked the balance of our kind. Rylan couldn't take it anymore. He pushed through the doors, ignoring the guards' warnings. Enough, he shouted. If you want to blame someone, blame me. I touched her. I broke your rule. But don't call it corruption, and it was compassion. Gasps filled the room. The Varethi leader glared at him, his voice sharp like metal. Human, you do not belong in this matter. Maybe not, Rylan said, stepping closer. But I belong to this moment, and I won't let you destroy her for something that saved her life. The guards restrained him, pulling him back, but before he was dragged away, he met Sarai's eyes one last time. She was crying silently, her silver tears falling like light. Rylan, she whispered, voice trembling, they're sending me home. I won't be allowed to return. He struggled against the guards, his voice breaking. Sarai, I'll find you. I promise you, no matter where they take you, I'll find you again. She nodded once, her heart in her eyes. Then I'll wait. As they led her away, she turned back one last time. Her voice was soft, almost lost in the noise. Don't touch me again, Rylan, she said. Because if you do, I'll never want to let you go. And before he could answer, she was gone, leaving behind only silence, and the faint echo of her light fading into the stars. The day Sarai was taken away, the stars seemed duller. Captain Rylan Voss stood by the council window, watching the silver ship vanish into the black sea of space. His reflection stared back at him, tired eyes, clenched jaw, and a heart that refused to listen to reason. He told himself she would be fine. The Varethi were powerful, disciplined. They would never harm one of their own. But deep down he knew this wasn't about protection. It was punishment. The bond between them had become more than forbidden. It was proof that even the purest walls could be broken by something as human as emotion. Days passed like ghosts. The council resumed its meetings, pretending nothing had happened. Sarai's chair was empty, her name erased from the agenda. Rylan kept coming anyway, just to stare at the spot where she used to sit. Every night, he walked the empty corridors of the station, hearing her voice echo in his memory. Don't touch me again, Rylan, because if you do, I'll never want to let you go. He smiled bitterly at the thought. It had sounded like a warning, but now it felt like a promise. After a few weeks, strange rumors began to spread. Some said the Varethi homeworld had gone silent. Others said their energy fields were unstable, a strange pulse rippling through their atmosphere, changing the patterns of their light. The scientists blamed a cosmic storm. But Rylan knew better. He could still feel her. The bond hadn't broken when she left. It still pulsed inside him, faint but alive, like a heartbeat that wasn't his own. Sometimes, in the quiet of night, he could almost hear her whispering his name. Not through sound, but through feeling. One evening, he was called to the command deck. A faint distress signal had been received. Its origin, the Varethi system. It wasn't a full transmission, just fragments of sound and static. But buried deep in the noise was a voice he could never forget. Rylan, don't come. It's not safe. That was all. Just 6 words broken by static. But they lit a fire inside him stronger than duty, stronger than fear. He didn't ask for permission. He didn't wait for orders. He took a shuttle and left the station behind, following the coordinates of that fading signal. The council declared him missing, a deserter, but he didn't care. He had promised her once that he would find her. The journey was long and silent. The Varethi system was surrounded by energy storms, violet clouds twisting like living things, cutting off all communication. Rylan's ship shook violently as he entered orbit, alarms flashing red. Through the window he saw their world, a once radiant planet now covered in dim light. The towers of silver that had once touched the sky were cracked and dark. The cities looked abandoned, their shields flickering weakly. Landing wasn't easy, but somehow he made it. The air shimmered with unstable energy, but he didn't stop. He grabbed his suit, his heart racing, and stepped out into the broken silence. The ground beneath his boots glowed faintly, traces of Varethi power fading into dust. And then in the distance he saw her. Sarai stood at the edge of a ruined courtyard, her silver hair tangled, her glow dim. She looked like the ghost of the woman he had once known, but her eyes were still alive. For a long moment, neither spoke. The wind carried only the faint hum of dying energy. Finally, she said softly, "I told you not to come." He smiled faintly, his voice breaking. "You know I don't listen very well." She looked away, pain in her eyes. "They said the bond was making me unstable, that it was changing my core energy. They tried to separate it, but it only grew stronger. My body, it's fading, Rylan." He took a slow step forward. "Then I'll find a way to stop it." She shook her head, tears falling like liquid silver. "You can't, you shouldn't have come. The energy here reacts to you, it will destroy you too." He smiled again, that same gentle, stubborn smile she remembered. "Maybe, but I'd rather fade with you than live without you." Sarai's breath caught. She closed her eyes, whispering, "You foolish human." But when she opened them again, her heart whispered something else entirely. "Thank you for coming back." The ruins of the Varithi city were silent, glowing faintly under the dying light of their twin moons. Captain Rylan Voss stood at the edge of the courtyard, breathing heavily through his cracked helmet. The air around him shimmered with unstable energy, each pulse humming softly, like the heartbeat of a dying world. And there, in the center of it all, stood Sarai. Her silver skin was pale, almost translucent now, her once bright eyes dim with exhaustion. The golden shimmer beneath her skin flickered weakly, like a candle about to go out. When she saw him walking toward her, she froze, disbelief and sorrow mixing on her face. "I told you not to come," she whispered, voice shaking. "I had to," Rylan said simply. His voice was rough, but his eyes were steady. "You said our energies were linked. If you're dying, then part of me already is." She closed her eyes, tears sliding down her silver cheeks. "You shouldn't say things like that. You're human. You have a whole world to go back to." Rylan took another step, ignoring the tremors in the air. "I left that world behind the day they took you away." Sarai turned, staring at the broken towers that once shimmered with life. "Our people tried to separate the bond. They said your human energy was destroying me, but they were wrong. It wasn't your touch that harmed me, Rylan. It was their fear." She sank to her knees, her body trembling. "When they tried to remove your presence from me, my heart rejected the process. The bond wasn't just energy, it was love." Rylan felt his throat tighten. He crouched down beside her, his hands hovering above her shoulders, afraid to touch. "Then don't fight it anymore," he said softly. "Let me help you." Like before. She looked up at him, her eyes full of pain. "If you touch me again, Rylan, the energy will surge. My body won't survive it." He gave a small, broken laugh. "You know me, Sarai. I've never been very good at following orders." Her lips curved into a faint smile. Sad, beautiful, full of love. "You're still the same foolish human who broke a 1,000-year law just to hold my hand." He smiled back, his voice low and gentle. "And I'd do it again." The air between them shimmered, their energies reacting just from being near each other. The gold within her body flickered brighter, and the faint blue glow from his suit pulsed in answer. The bond was still alive, waiting for a single touch to awaken completely. Sarai's breathing grew shallow. "Rylan, my people are gone. The energy storms took everything. There's nothing left here but memories. Then we'll make one more," he said softly. She shook her head weakly. "You don't understand. If we touch again, the reaction might not just destroy us. It could release everything. All the stored energy of the bond. It could change this world forever." Rylan knelt closer. "Then maybe it's time it changed." For a long moment, neither moved. The stars above them flickered like dying embers, and the soft wind carried the last whispers of a once great civilization. Sarai looked into his eyes, her heart torn between fear and love. "Finally," she said in a trembling voice. "You still smile like nothing can break you." He gave her that same quiet smile, the one that had once melted her walls. "Maybe nothing can." Her tears shimmered gold as they fell. "Rylan, if this is our end, then at least it's with you." He nodded, his voice barely a whisper. "It's not the end. It's what we were meant for." The energy around them grew stronger, crackling like a storm of light. Every part of the world seemed to hold its breath. Rylan reached out, his hand stopping just inches from hers. The air sizzled between their palms. the bond calling, begging to be completed. Sarai closed her eyes and whispered, "Don't touch me again." But he smiled, soft, fearless, full of love. And even before his hand reached hers, the world began to shine. The air cracked with light. As Ryland's fingers brushed against Sarai's skin, a burst of golden and blue energy exploded around them. The world seemed to shatter, and for a moment there was no sound, only light. Sarai gasped as the bond came alive again, stronger than ever before. The glow beneath her skin turned brilliant, and her body lifted slightly off the ground. The dying towers of Vareth pulsed as if waking from a long sleep, ancient stones absorbing the power that flowed between them. Ryland could feel the heat burning through his armor. His veins glowed faint blue, matching the rhythm of Sarai's golden light. He could barely breathe, but he didn't stop. His hand stayed on hers, fingers trembling but firm. She opened her eyes, her face shining with both pain and wonder. "You shouldn't have done that," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I know," he said with a soft, almost peaceful smile. "But I couldn't let you fade alone." The light surged again. A shock wave rippled through the air, bending trees, shaking mountains, spreading across the silent horizon. The storm that had raged over the ruined planet began to calm, as if the world itself was bowing before their bond. Sarai's tears turned into glowing drops that floated upward. "Ryland, it's too much. The energy. It's breaking me apart," he gritted his teeth, holding tighter. "Then we break together." Her eyes widened, full of love and grief. "Why do humans always choose pain?" "Because love is worth it," he said, voice low, almost lost in the thunder of light. The storm reached its peak. The bond's energy spiraled into the sky, forming a column of gold and blue that pierced the clouds. The old machines of the Varethi, buried beneath centuries of dust, flickered to life, one by one, as if recognizing the ancient power returning to them. Sarai's body trembled violently, but her expression softened. She looked at him the way one looks at the sun for the last time, full of awe and surrender. "Ryland, I can feel them. My people, they're not gone. Their energy, it's everywhere." Ryland's vision blurred, his body weakening, but he managed to smile. "Then we saved them." She shook her head softly. "No, you did." The golden light wrapped around them both like a cocoon, humming softly now. The violent energy was fading into warmth, peaceful, eternal. Sarai lifted her hand and gently touched his cheek. Her fingers were warm and trembling. "You never listened when I said not to touch me," she whispered, a tear of light sliding down her face. He smiled weakly. "And you never really wanted me to stop." She laughed through her tears, a sound so soft it broke the silence of the dying world. "You foolish human." "I know," he whispered back. "But I'd rather be foolish with you than wise without you." Her body began to dissolve into shimmering light. The golden glow spread across him, sinking into his skin, wrapping him in warmth. He felt her voice inside his heart, soft and fading. "Ryland, I'll always be with you." He reached out one last time, even as the light swallowed them both. "And I'll always find you." Then the world went silent. When the light faded, the ruins of Vareth were gone, replaced by a vast field of crystal flowers, glowing softly under the twin moons. Each flower pulsed gently with golden blue light, whispering with the echo of two souls who had defied the laws of both their worlds. In the center of that field stood a single statue, carved from living crystal. It showed a man and an alien woman, hands touching, their faces calm and full of peace. The humans who later found that place called it the Bond Field. They said the energy there healed wounds, purified air, and brought calm to the soul. No one knew exactly what happened, but every traveler who stood there swore they could hear a faint voice on the wind, a woman's whisper saying, "Don't touch me again," and another voice, full of warmth and love, answering with a smile, "I already did."